This year has been a tale of two parties. Democrats have spent 2013 working for the folks. And I think it shows. Thanks to the Affordable Care Act, over 1 million Americans will have a happy and healthier new year. The program saw a surge in enrollment this month. What in the world is Fox News going to do? 975,000 people signing up through healthcare.gov. I guess the website's working. They'll be covered starting January 1st. Merry Christmas. But on the other side of the aisle, the Republican Party has done its best to stop progress really at every turn. Republicans blame President Obama for not doing enough to fix the economy. But they've left the unemployed by the side of the road again. Unemployment insurance benefits for 1.3 million Americans were cut off over the weekend after Congress failed to pass an extension before the holidays. The Republican Party is in denial about this economy. They complain on one hand, but they can't have it both ways. Extending unemployment insurance isn't going to change anyone's lifestyle. Nobody's after your wallet. It's only going to help people. And it's not going to break the bank. We can do this. In fact, the Congressional Budget Office says extending unemployment insurance helps the economy by increasing demand for goods and services and workers. Extending unemployment benefits through 2014 would create 200,000 jobs. Now, this is according to the Congressional Budget Office. This country is at a moral crossroads as I see it. Bottom line, we can do better. We shouldn't even be having this discussion. But because of the Republicans, we are. Joining me now is Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky of Illinois. Congresswoman, good to have you with us tonight. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate all your, you bet, and I appreciate your work on the part of American workers in your advocacy. I think that that has to be stated at this time of year as we go into 2014. I want to know, what is the Republican plan to help 1.3 million Americans who are trying to get back into the economy?
Well, if you want to know the truth, Ed, I think if the bill were called, if John Boehner would actually call the bill, I think we might be able to extend those benefits. Certainly in the Senate, we've got some bipartisan support, and I think in the House, too. So really, if democracy were allowed to work and the majority were allowed to rule, I think we could actually do some good. But we've got John Boehner seeming yet again to be in control of the Tea Party and that faction. But, you know, we'll see. There's a lot of pressure being put on houses now to extend those benefits.
Well, you know, in John Boehner's district, I was told by Louise Slaughter today that there's a poll out there that says that 63% of the people in Boehner's district, they want to extend unemployment benefits to these Americans who are now, in a sense, destitute and wondering what's going to happen to them. Does the poll really matter? Do the people matter here? I mean, the corporations have such a tremendous grab on the Republican Party. I mean, right now, from what I understand from the Democrats, is that you're hoping that public pressure back home on elected officials and a possible vote in the Senate to do this is going to reverse the thinking, and Boehner's going to bring it to the floor for a vote. I mean, that's what is being told to me from a number of different sources. Is that going to happen, in your opinion?
I think there's a good chance that it will. We certainly want your audience and Americans around the country, the vast majority of whom do support extending those benefits, and by the way, also support in overwhelming numbers raising the minimum wage, that John Boehner will understand that his party is better off by doing these kinds of things that the American people want.
Well, and the question of how much political capital can the Democrats spend on this? Harry Reid says that it's a top priority when we start the new year. Do you think it'll be a priority for John Boehner in the House?
Well, it certainly is a priority in the Senate, and therefore there's going to be a lot of pressure put on Boehner to do it. Look, every month that it isn't done, 72,000 more people lose their benefits. This isn't just a one-time deal. And as you pointed out, it's really good for the economy. And the other side of that is it's really bad for the economy if we don't extend those benefits. We could be talking about 250,000 jobs lost. So if the Republicans hope to barely make the case that they really are for jobs in this country, then they're going to extend those unemployment insurance benefits.
Well, I want to talk health care for just a moment.
Sure.
Back in the Bush years, when we were talking about a surge, we were talking about war. Now, when we're talking about surge, we're talking about health care for more Americans. I mean, these enrollment numbers before the deadline for the month of December, I believe, are very impressive. We're now closing in on 2 million people who are going to be affected by this law. What does this mean? Deadlines are good. People have responded to it. What do you have to do in the new year to keep these numbers coming? I mean, enrollment in the healthcare exchange is surging. What's your reaction to these new numbers?
Well, now we're actually on track of what we thought we were going to be when October 1st rolled around. And so I think these numbers bode really well. We are seeing a surge, 1.1 million Americans now signed up through the exchanges, that is through the federal exchange. We think it's been estimated maybe 850,000 more, closer to 1 million, through the state exchanges. And then there's 3.9 million Americans who are now on Medicaid or the CHIP program that weren't on before.
Yeah.
So we're talking about nearly 5 million people who have been affected now, and I think those numbers are going to continue to roll. Ed, think of this. 2 days from now, no American will be denied health care because they have a pre-existing condition. There won't be any lifetime or annual caps. Women won't be discriminated against in rates. There'll be a cap on how much you have to pay out of pocket so people won't go bankrupt. This is a blessing for our country. But instead, the Republicans... Merry Christmas, and we're, going to cut you off of unemployment, and we're going to keep trashing Affordable Care Act. It's not going to work for them.
Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, you've been a great advocate for health care, and I just want to, you just said something there in a sentence that I think we need to really underscore. Women in the United States of America are now going to be paying the same rates for health care as men. Because of health care costs, in my opinion, they were discriminated against. They were made to pay higher rates through the private sector. That isn't going to happen anymore. And I think this is a big thing when it comes to the war on women. I hope the president really takes up the gavel and goes strong in the State of the Union address, because these stories are only going to get better for the country. And I think it's the best shot the Democrats have got to taking over the House. And they got a great record to run on from the standpoint that the other guys voted over 40 times to get rid of what you and I have just talked about. I think that's on the wrong side of history. Congresswoman, great to have you with us tonight.
Thank you. Healthy, happy New Year to you, Ed, and your family.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Appreciate it. Jan Schakowsky of Illinois with us here on The Edge.